What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Survivor Now podcast. My name is Randy. As always, I'm the host, and I am joined today by an amazing two-time Australian Survivor alum, and she was even one of the seasons she did was Australian Survivor All-Star. So I'm kind of in the presence of like Survivor royalty here. I, I am please welcome Daisy. Daisy, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I don't know about the royalty bit, but I definitely got invited back. Whether I'm a star, I don't know, but I was definitely all, that's for sure.
I mean, you gotta say, like, you were an all-star. Like, you gotta own that. That's something that,
Oh, you have to.
there's a lot of Survivor contestants who can say, yeah, I played the game, but Daisy over here, she was an all-star.
I think I got pretty lucky. But in saying that, we did have a lot of really cool people in the All-Star season. I think it was a really good mix. I was really lucky to get to play the game again. Albeit it was really short timing. Like I had 6 weeks in between back-to-back seasons. So I didn't feel like like an all-star. I feel like most of the other all-stars other than my first season's returnees, all had like 1, 2 or 3 years to prepare. So I feel like we pretty much hadn't even finished playing the game and we just started playing it all over again.
Yeah, how crazy is that? Like how taxing it is to actually go on the show, and like especially like, you weren't someone who your first time playing champions versus contenders, you weren't someone who really like went out early, you lasted out there. And especially, I look at the Survivor we have, and it's, usually 39 days. You guys outdo us there, and you lasted a while. And then just to get right back into the swing of things, have those 6 weeks and then go right back into another game, that had to be challenging a bit.
Yes and no. In some ways, I think it's good because I didn't have a lot of time to think about it. I didn't have like people from other seasons, I know, obsessed over it for months, years beforehand, whereas I just kind of went home, knew I was only going home for 6 weeks, and then I was getting back on a plane to Fiji 6 weeks later. So sometimes I think it was a blessing in disguise that it was so close together. But in saying that, like, a bit more preparation probably wouldn't have hurt, but your mind is it's more, I think the challenging part was going home knowing you're only there for 6 weeks, because it's like, do you put yourself back in a routine? Do you set yourself up again, or do you just stay in that survivor mindset because you're going so soon again anyway?
I was looking forward to this interview all day because I have to kind of take back my fanship here a little bit, kind of calm it down, because your season, believe it or not, your first one, champions versus contenders, that was the first taste I got into Australians Survivor and that whole side of the game. And so, and you might not believe it, you're probably going to be like, oh, he says this to everyone, but you were actually one of my favorite people on that season. Your whole
Oh,
dynamic,
thank
you and
you.
Sean, the power couple. And I mean, the moment you found the idol and you're like, yes, I did it. So just kind of put myself and other people listening to the podcast in that mind frame of what's it like to actually, be on the show and you see John standing across from you and you finally realize, holy crap, I'm on Survivor. Like, what's that feeling like?
Um, it's so surreal. I remember the first time I got, well, the call I got saying I was going. I kept like, because you do all these things in the lead up. You do physicals and mental health and personality tests and all these things, and they still haven't said, "Hey, you're actually going." Because you've got to jump through these hoops before they give you the ticket. So, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I've got this, but you've also got to be prepared for they may say no. Like there may be something in these tests that they don't like, or something might not suit them. So you're not 100% in until you're physically on that beach. So I think walking out, you're nervous, but you're also relieved because like up until that point, they can still pretty much kick you from the show. So yeah, it's super weird seeing Jonathan in the flesh, and it's also super weird walking out and seeing him like standing there, not just in the flesh, but when you watch something on TV for so long as a fan yourself, and then you see it it's like seeing a celebrity, right? Like you're walking out and it's this, so the word surreal is overused so much, but it's not just surreal. It feels very like out of body. Like you feel like you're in a TV, which you are in a TV show,
but you don't realize
it's
that. I
like,
know there's like a ton of
no,
cameras and stuff. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was super weird. It was super weird. And I think it's like those moments, especially because there's not a lot of stimulant around you. Like when you're walking to a shopping center or you're at your workplace or at home, there's lights, there's music playing, there's people around you, your phone's dinging. Like when you go out to Survivor, there's none of that. Like all you've got is the nature around you, the tribes around you, and then the wall of 300 cameras, which is very, very
intimidating.
distracting, but intimidating. Oh, not intimidating, just like it's quite surprising because you obviously, as a viewer, only see the 24 people standing, 25 including Jonathan, on the beach, but then you forget that there's actually someone recording you the whole time. So yeah, and then when you're in that moment, because the stimulants aren't there, you can absorb it way more.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels very clear. Like that memory is very clear to me.
Okay, and when I got to Australian Survivor All Stars, I was obviously pulling for you as one of the people returning. I know I was like, should I bring this up? Because she's probably going to hate me if I bring this up.
Everyone brings this up. It's okay.
You're like, this is a memory you have to keep reliving here. But I mean, it's an iconic way to go. Like, really. So what was your experience, the last time you played, which was a few years ago? What was your experience there? I know there had to be some anger. Or frustration, I guess.
Yeah, more disappointment. I was mad at myself more than anyone. Like I was never mad at Dave. Like I was disappointed, but a lot they didn't show. I did try and tell my alliance I didn't want to work with Dave. I didn't trust him. Like I knew, and you know what? I was enjoying working with Dave, but I knew it wasn't going to work long term. Albeit, like,
you've played with Dave a couple times, right?
Exactly.
Dave.
And the thing is, Dave and I have worked together, like on votes. I think people forget that, like when there was a tribe swap in CVC, like Dave was in my alliance. So I have worked with Dave on votes before. So it wasn't completely out of the blue for then to us, even though, yes, at the end of CVC, I had worked with him at a point. So, I mean, yes, I wasn't trusting but my alliance couldn't really see through that, and it shot me in the foot in the end. But there's only so many times, like I wanted to play such a different game in All Stars because I played such a paranoid game. I felt in CVC, like every time I got an idol, I just flushed it because I couldn't hold on to it because it was burning a hole in my pocket. So I wanted to be a lot calmer. So, you can tell your alliance X amount of times, hey, I don't trust this guy. But if you want to play a calmer game, then you've got to then trust them. And that's what I did. I trusted him, and it didn't work out for me.
And see, from a fan's perspective, I see a lot of this through edit, and there's a lot of stuff that we don't see. But I was sitting there and I'm like, Daisy, why are you trusting Dave? Like, from what we can see, we see all of Dave's, like, what's going on behind everyone's back and stuff. So every time you sided with him, I was like, oh, Daisy, don't do that. Don't trust Dave.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. And I kept saying to my crew, I was like, I don't want to do this. But if you guys want to do it, I'll do it. Because you don't want to, I was third boot. Like, you're not ready to go against the grain and a mass alliance of, 6 other people yet. So I just thought, if they think it's safe, like these guys have played before too, and maybe I should trust Dave. And obviously, it didn't work out.
Well, still an iconic way to go. And there is more than just the game of Survivor. I wanted to ask you, what have you been up to since, the last time you played?
Oh gosh, there's been a whole pandemic since the last time I played. What's everyone been busy?
Yeah.
Things have changed, I guess, quite dramatically. I always forget when the last time I played was, but obviously I was a travel agent when I was playing. So the travel industry all but disappeared in Australia during the pandemic and worldwide, I guess. But yeah, so I became redundant, which, it is what it is. There was no longer a job there for me anymore. So long story short, I moved to the Gold Coast and I was managing a gym for a little while, a gym which I had been going to for a long time. And then, yeah, I've kind of come full circle for them. And now I'm an ambassador for the franchise.
Oh,
So
wow. Congrats.
so thank you. Yeah, it's been really good. It's a good way to keep me accountable and fit, because it's like, if if you're being paid to go to the gym, you go to the gym. Like, you can't just say, hey, I'm not going to do it today. So that's been awesome. As of 2020, like, I've been trying to get really back into my reading. It hasn't happened. I've read 2 books this year.
I feel that so much, by the way.
Yeah, I think we've all
get
been glued to our screens for so long. It's now hard for us to sit down and actually read a physical book, because we just want, we want instant gratification and instant things, in front of us, and books are a slow burn. Like,
I just watch TV so much over like the quarantine period and stuff that I'm like, man, I really need to get into reading. And I got a couple chapters in and I'm like, man, I can't remember the last time I read.
Yeah. So, doing that at the moment. And that's pretty much the long and the short of it. I'm trying to learn to surf, as everyone does when they live on the Gold Coast.
Going well?
I mean, as well as it can go for someone that has very little balance and minimal coordination, but I'm enjoying it. And I think it's, it's about what you enjoy, right?
That's that. I couldn't say it any better myself. I will say, I would almost bet my entire life savings that you're a better surfer than me. The fact that I've never even been on a surfboard. So at least you have that going for you.
Well, yeah. I mean, what are the chances? You're not exactly going to be a good surfer living in Indiana, are you?
That's true. There's not a lot of places to go.
No.
So now is a great time as well to bring you onto the podcast for an interview, because a new season of Australian Survivor just started. Have you been keeping up with it? I know it just started.
So we've had 1 episode now. So episode 1 was last night here. You guys aren't getting it, are you? Paramount Plus are not streaming it? Is that correct?
So it was weird because we were posting about it and everything. It's going to be available on Paramount Plus, and then Sandra came out and said it's not available. So I was able to find a link to keep up with it.
Right.
So I wasn't going to post it because I'd like to keep that link, but then there's so many other people right now saying, hey, you want to watch it? Go ahead and go to this link. So I saw it, but I watch it like as soon as I wake up in the morning, because it's on for you in a couple hours here. Episode 2.
Exactly. Yeah. Not even, in literally an hour. And I'm in Queensland, so I'm an hour behind everyone else on the East Coast, because we don't have daylight savings. Long story. This country is very
That's a different podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So it's actually on in like 40 minutes for some people, but it's on in an hour and 40 for me. So it was a good opening app. I think they've got a really good cast. I think they've really kind of gone across the board and tried to pick some different characters. I also think Blood vs. Water is such a cool format.
I love it.
Yeah, I don't think that will age, and I think you could use it so many times over, and that dynamic just adds a whole new. That dynamic adds a new dynamic to the game, and I think it's really cool. I'm excited to watch it progress, and I think it will only become more and more interesting as the game goes, and when people do become reunited with their families and loved ones.
It's going to sound crazy because we're only 1 episode in, but I wanted to ask you, is there anyone catching your eye? Anyone you think looks really good right now? And I do have to ask you, I have to get your opinion. I need a winner pick from you.
Oh yeah, can I give you 2?
Yeah.
I'll give you a male and a female. So I think my male, if it's a male, I think Mark might win it.
Okay.
Wales. Yep. And if it's a female, I think KJ has a really good shot at it.
Okay. I was saying, I said in our cast assessment, I said Brianna.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's
something about her, but no, those are good picks. So you're sticking with Mark and KJ.
Yeah. One or the other, obviously. But I think there's a lot of people I think will make it a long way, but those two are my winners picks for the game.
I'll have to shoot you a message if you end up being right. Like you'll have those bragging rights.
Thank you. Well, I got it right last season, so I was pretty happy with that.
So make it 2 for 2, back to back.
I'd like to. Well, I've never picked the winner before because the two seasons before I was in, so I knew who the winner was, and the seasons before that, I definitely didn't pick the winner, but in season 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. But yeah, last season I picked it, so let's keep this winning streak going.
Sounds like a plan. And I do have one final question for you. And you could look at it like a yes or no. You can give us an explanation like why or why not if you'd like to. But I ask every former castaway that comes on this podcast, would you play again a third time if they bring Daisy back? If you get the call, are you saying yes?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'll pack my bags tomorrow. I don't even need to think about that.
That's almost the answer I get every single time.
Yeah, I think some people, carry a lot of hurt and not necessarily hate, but things that they've not processed or that they've processed so much that they never want to revisit it. And that's okay too. But yeah, it's so addictive and there's no experience quite like it. And I even said to someone at work today, like, I'd go back and play without the cameras. Like it's not even about the TV show. It's physically about living off the land so raw with such little utilities and food. I just think it's such an incredible experience. And then also getting to play the great game of Survivor with the strategy, I think, and getting to test your physical boundaries 100%. I'd play it tomorrow.
That's one thing that's crazy to me is Australian Survivor. If I'm looking at the differences between the two, you brought up like the physical side of it. It looks draining and very physically taxing.
Yeah. Well, where they had last season and where they're having this season, I don't even know what state I would compare it to in America because it's quite close to where I grew up. And the heat there is just insane. Like, we were so lucky with Fiji. We had the ocean right there. And, it was April. And these guys, I think this was filmed, October through, what was it? August, September, October, maybe.
And still super hot out there?
Well, it's getting hot. That's when it starts to get hotter. So, I don't envy them. It's like we were so lucky to get to play overseas because of COVID. Obviously, these 2 seasons have been here, but I couldn't even imagine playing in the heat they are playing in.
I was wondering, I'm so used to seeing Survivor in Fiji now that watching the first episode, I was thinking that exact thing. I'm like, this is taking me back to like when the US version went out to Australia and stuff and like those type of
Amber season. And
I was like, this looks Colby. Yeah. I was like, it just looks miserable out there.
legit, but almost it's vintage Survivor vibes. Like, let's bring it back.
That's what I'm saying. Let's go back to like, I love Fiji. I love everything they have going with them, but I'm like, let's bring it back to where we go all over the place and make this thing. I'm still waiting. You're not going to get behind this with me probably because no one does, but I'm still waiting on a snowy Survivor season. I got to see it.
Do you watch Alone?
I've heard about it.
Oh, Colby Donaldson is the host. So
no, he is not. Is he really?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so great. I won't give too much away, but it's without the strategy of Survivor. It's more the surviving aspect. But yeah, if you want to do yourself a favor, go and watch the most recent season of Alone and then go back and watch it.
I was going to say, how many seasons are there and which one should I start with?
I started with the most recent and I really enjoyed it. So I would start with the most recent and then probably get recommendations from someone that knows it a bit better than I do because I haven't watched them all yet.
Okay, I'll take your advice there. And I actually thought that was the last question, but if you have time, I got a little spin-off of that question. If you could go back and play on like a themed season out of all the themes you've seen, which one would you choose? And the second part to that second part, if that makes any sense, if it was blood versus water, who would you take?
I've been asked this before, and I never have a straight answer because
Ah.
whoever you say, someone else is pissed off.
Oh, you can avoid it then if you need to.
No,
Just say
I
one of
don't
your loved
know.
ones.
I think my brother would love to play it, so I think it would make sense to take my brother.
Okay.
So yeah, there's that. But my mum is like my rock. But in saying that, she would hate it. Like she would hate the whole.
But then
She'd hate all of it.
Would you be able to vote her off then? It'd be harder to vote your mom off than your brother, wouldn't
Oh, she'd get voted off without me voting her off. That's all I can say. I just don't think it'd be. Yeah, I don't think it'd be her jam.
Yeah.
Also, like one of my friends, I've got my best friend is absolutely awesome, and she's really grounded and got a really good head on her shoulders. So she'd be really cool to play with. She'd be one of the more softly spoken ones that would kind of just sneak their way right through to the end. And I think she'd have a real chance of winning it. But yeah, I mean, look, I'd go back and play with previous contestants. Like I'd go back and play with Phoebe again if I had the opportunity, because I feel like I was robbed in All Stars. I only got to play with her for 7 days. So I'd love to go back and play a full game with her 100%. What format?
There's so many to
You know
choose
what
from.
format? Yeah, but you know what format is slightly controversial and probably a little bit backwards.
Hit me with it.
Viewership wise, it was so interesting to watch like years later, because they would never do it now. But it was when they separated the tribes into continents. It was Yule season, the one Yule one. Oh my god, the name escapes me right now.
Oh my gosh, it's I'm mad too because it's escaping me. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, but it was like the Central South American tribe versus like the African American tribe versus the Asian tribe versus the white Caucasian tribe, and it was so interesting to watch because like so many different skill sets were involved. That was I think that was Aussie's first season too. So
I believe you're right
there. Yeah, it was Aussie's first season. Yeah. So I just found it so interesting to kind of watch that melting pot of cultures, because there are some Survivor seasons where I think there's definitely not there's not the diversity there.
Yeah.
And that season like guaranteed it. You know what I mean? Like it was like there was no way there couldn't be diversity, because it was literally split up into continents, which I guess in ways can be considered like incorrect, but also it made sure that so many different people were represented.
Branching off that, potentially, I'm just pitching the idea here, and like, what do I know? Like CBS isn't going to call me up or anything, or 10 play, but if we could do like a season in Fiji where it's like US All-Stars, South African All-Stars, Australian All-Stars.
Yeah, this has been pitched so many times. But I think someone always says, oh, the visa. I'm like, what visa? Everyone's playing in Fiji. Fiji doesn't need a visa. Like,
I'm sad that you said it's been pitched. I was like, man, I just had this genius idea, but now it makes sense. It's been pitched so many times.
Yeah, I just think it's never got off the ground. I always thought that Dave would go and play an American season because he has a green card and like lived in New York for so long, and
I didn't know what the rules are.
It's American.
That makes sense.
I was like, surely if anyone's got a ground to play on, but it's him. But yeah, and I mean, we always have the token. I think my season was the first season we didn't have the token American. Like, yeah, so like Sandra, Russell, who else has played? Sandra and Russell were the first ones to come to mind in the Australian season.
I think they're the only ones who have jumped over and played in Australia, as far as I
know. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I mean, it would be cool to see a lot of those old school survivors play. Like, I really enjoyed the All-Star American season, which I think was the seventh seventh season. Like, it would be cool to have the likes of Colby and you know, we've seen Amber and Rob again because they played Winners at War, and you know, Rob's played a couple of times and Sandra's played a couple of times, and again in Winners at War. But you want to see those bigger characters that haven't won kind of come back, and that would be that. I don't even know what that
I
what
keep
that
going.
format would be called.
I keep going completely off. I'm like, man, I'm just holding her hostage here. But
no, it's okay.
I do want to know, you mentioned all these like historic players. Who would you say is your all-time favorite Survivor player? Someone that you really look up to in the terms of gameplay and stuff. Loaded question again.
Yeah, it's so hard to say. I don't know.
There's like thousands of players.
Yeah, and there is literally thousands of players at this point. So it's like, how do you pick? Like, oh hell, like I thought Ben was awesome. You know, the way he plays, like he got a lot of scrap in Winners at War, which maybe he should have gone about things a bit differently, but I don't know. I really I watched him play and I liked it. Like I liked the way Michelle played in Winners at War too. Here I am going on back to all the winners. And I've just said I want to play with people that haven't won, but yeah, I don't know.
I just threw that on you, so like you were totally good. You could have easily went like, I'm my favorite, and you would have been.
Yeah, I'm my favorite. Done. Answer sold. Phoebe's my favorite. That's so easy.
That's fair.
Like one of my closest friends. I'll just say Phoebe. That's the short answer.
That's the right answer. If Phoebe listens to this, she's going to be happy now. She probably would have been sitting there like, you better not say any other name other than myself.
No, she'll be flattered, but she's not like that. Or actually, I'd love to play with AK again. Again, I feel like I was robbed. I only got 7 days and then like was voted off, and he was so much fun to be around. So maybe AK.
Okay. We just need to run it back with that cast. Give you another chance to not get idled out this time.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Just give me my second go at the same people.
All-Stars Part 2. Well,
Part 2. Yeah, Daisy's Redemption.
I love it. That's the next season, just to let you guys know. That's it. We leaked it here. Well, I feel like I could talk.
Yeah, I actually...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just thought of something for the format, and someone had floated this to me once, so this isn't my idea, but there's 2, and one is called like Redemption Season. So it's pretty much the first, second, and third boots of every season.
Oh,
so
I've been saying, why have we not given like the first person voted off every season like another chance to go?
Yeah, like Joan from season 2, would love to see her play again. Matt Dyson from season 3, would love to see him play again. Like the Anastasia from my season.
I was gonna say, who went? She got hit hard. I felt so bad for her when she was the first one out.
I know, and she's so great, and she had such an awesome skill set with her memory. So again, like I sat and had dinner with her one night, and her husband was talking about like, you know, what she could have done had she made it further in the game. Like her brain is like a filing cabinet. So that is someone I would have loved to have watched played further. Like there's so many people I would love. I would like a first boots season or a redemption season. So it's the first, second, and third boots. Put them all together on an island, see how they go.
Oh, I could get behind that. I mean, like, I'm just waiting for them to call us. We've already came up with like 3 or 4 amazing like themed ideas in this like 30-minute session. So I'm just waiting for them to give us the call to say like, hey, what should we do next season?
Yeah, exactly. It'll definitely be coming through to us.
Exactly. Well, I feel like, Daisy, I could talk for hours and hours about Survivor with you. And I wanted to say you're always welcome to join the podcast anytime. Just hit me up. So if you want to join, but thank you again for joining us, and I'll let you get on with the rest of your night and enjoy episode 2 of Blood versus Water.
I sure will. Thanks so much for having me, Randy.
Thank you, Daisy. Good talking.